waters are still, the shipyard almost silent. But a century ago, this grey Belfast quayside witnessed a legend in the making. This was the birthplace of the most famous ship the world has ever seen, Titanic. She was to be colossal, magnificent, built to match the vision of the men who made her. Men driven by boundless ambition.
Yes, I am laying down a challenge. Perhaps the greatest in the history of shipbuilding.
By a sense of foreboding.
Surely the first rule of safety must be to think the unthinkable.
And by absolute conviction.
There's a ship safer, we don't know of it. As far as I'm concerned, she is practically unsinkable.
But the true forgotten Titanic story is that of the workers who built the world's most luxurious ship with their bare hands. It's a story of violence and high political drama, of despair and tragedy, and of shame. Titanic, 5 years in the making, sank in less than 3 hours. 1,500 died. Among them, a handful of the shipyard men who brought her to life. This is the untold story of those men and their ship. This is Titanic. She was born in the great Edwardian era of luxury liners. Shipyards around the world were locked in a ferocious battle. Who could build the biggest ships, the most lavish, the fastest? The pride of nations was at stake, and the pride of workers too. Every new ship carried an elite troubleshooting team to handle any problems. Titanic was no different. Her troubleshooters were called the Guarantee Group. Just 8 ship workers from 14,000 who would sail on her maiden voyage. Their story began 5 years earlier.
Of course, Cunard enjoyed government subsidies, but need that be of any...
This was the London home of the shipbuilder William Pirrie. That night, he was entertaining another shipping magnate.
Their every attempt at competition is no more than an act of vanity.
Pirrie was a hard-nosed Ulsterman.
Ignore the fact that it's their ship that has broken the record for crossing the Atlantic.
Bruce Ismay, a fastidious Englishman. As owner of the White Star shipping line, Ismay faced a challenge. His rivals, Cunard, were building new, fast liners.
And as I've always said, Bruce, speed isn't everything.
But surely you understand why White Star must respond.
You really want to get caught up in some ridiculous competition with Cunard? I hadn't realized you were so concerned with prestige, Bruce.
Without prestige, the White Star line, and for that matter your shipyard too, William, has no future.
Cunard's pursuit of speed is futile. The costs just don't add up. And if people want scale, we'll give them scale.
You see her as big as the Mauritania?
No, half as big again. The biggest ship the world has ever seen.
You think it's achievable?
I have the best marine engineers in the world. You know that.
What about the accommodation?
The most luxurious imaginable.
And the price?
Our usual terms. Cost plus 4%.
That would still be astronomical. And to compete with Cunard, we'd need 2 ships.
To trump them, you'd need 3.
The deal was made in Belgravia, but it was Belfast where Titanic would be built. Belfast was Ireland's industrial heart, and its lifeblood was the talent of its workers. They'd made Pirrie's company, Harland Wollf, the biggest shipbuilder in the world. Now a handful of them were about to enter legend. Alfie Cunningham, just 16, was starting as an apprentice.
Nervous, Alfie?
Who's nervous?
His widowed mother had 6 mouths to feed. Alfie was man of the house. Artie Frost, 33 years old, was moving up in the yard.
That hat, Artie.
Why?
Foreman fitter, a change of status.
Morning.
See ya.
Tommy Miller, age 25, was a ship's carpenter.
I'll see you boys, all right?
Tommy, your piece. You'd forget your head if it wasn't screwed on.
Aye.
The yard was a hard place. The 6-day week brought as little as £1 to take home. Late arrivals were locked out.
Oh, sorry, lad.
Discipline was the foreman's job. Everyone a god in a bowler hat. A word from the foreman could mean either a job for life or no job at all.
Mr. Frost! Mr. Frost! I know my name, son, and you'd be. Alfred Cunningham, sir. Starting today, eh? Yes, sir. Apprentice better.
There were 14,000 workers in the yard, and Alfie Cunningham was bottom of the heap.
Tell me what you know about a ship's engine, young man.
Nothing, sir.
Then you better waste no time in learning, son, or you'll be out in your ear.
Artie Frost had started as an apprentice. He knew how the yard worked. His ability had brought steady progress. But to get the foreman's job, he'd had to wait until his father retired. At the top of the company, too, it was a family affair.
That's a fact.
Cunard have got ahead of us. We must show them we won't let them stay there.
Well, I'm sure you'll relish the opportunity to do that, William.
Peary's chief of design was his wife's brother, Alexander Carlyle. Chalk and a cheese.
Tommy, Roderick, Alexander's put you in the picture.
Indeed. It's tremendous news.
Thomas Andrews was Peary's nephew. Many believed he was already being groomed to take over the company.
An entire new class of liner.
It's extraordinarily bold.
Of course, it's only a starting
Roderick
point,
Chisholm,
gentlemen.
chief
I
draftsman.
told Ismay he could have them within 4 to 5 years.
Really, William, we all know how much you like to throw down a challenge, but quite frankly, that is ridiculous.
Why?
These ships cannot simply be imagined into existence, William.
Of course, Alexander. And yes, I am laying down a challenge. Perhaps the greatest in the history of shipbuilding. That's a challenge I know you'll want to take on. And with Tommy and Roderick to help, you can turn the vision into a reality.
Peary's iron will ruled throughout the yard.
Get up out of there, you! Turning that metal, what are you
Every
up to?
second of the shipbuilding day was his.
Down the toes!
Even the lavatories were known as the minutes because of the timekeeper at the door. 7 minutes per worker per day. That was the rule.
First day in the yard, aye?
Aye.
Oh, come on, laddie. It's the welcome every new boy gets.
Get his trousers!
Keep out of this, Flaherty! Said, leave him be! Come on, that's right, Flaherty, you roll!
That's the only thing you Catholics are good at!
Just 1 in 8 workers at the yard was Catholic.
Is that a fact now?
Go on with you. Idiots.
But Lord Peary frowned on sectarianism. Friendships across the divide with Protestants like Tommy Miller were commonplace.
Have not charity, it profiteth me not. Charity suffereth long, and is kind.
The dinner break threw everyone together. For 45 minutes, a man's time was his own to spend as he pleased, in discussion and debate, gambling or games, and of course, the Bible.
Prepare to burn in hell!
No one was blind to religion, but more important still was the division between trades, and the kings of the yard with the toughest job were the riveters. Michael Flaherty, for one.
Thank you. Thanks for that.
Oh, my dad's a riveter, Alfie. She's deaf as a post.
Deaf as a what?
That's why he wouldn't let me follow him. Got me signed on as a shipwright and joiner instead. Safer trade for us, eh, Mr. Miller?
Safer? You say so.
But weren't you afraid to tell those fellas where to go, like, with them being Protestants and all?
You're a Protestant. Who's Mr. Miller here? Should we be afraid of you?
No.
Live and let live, they say. Aye. We're all Irish men here. Even himself.
Is that Mr. Perry?
Lord Perry to me and you. Must be something mighty important to have brought him down here, though, Mr. Miller.
With the new liners, change was coming. Before Perry could build his giant ships, he had to rebuild his shipyard completely. New slipways, new gantries. Perry was making history, and to record it, he appointed the finest photographer in Ireland. Robert Welch would capture every phase of Titanic's construction. Titanic had begun with a gentleman's agreement. A year on, there was still nothing in writing. Everything depended on Bruce Ismay.
Well,
It's got 4 funnels.
correct.
But you said there'd only be 3 engines.
William feels these ships will be more cost-effective with only 3.
And of course, we all know that the more funnels a ship has, the keener the paying public are to travel on it.
Cunard built the Mauritania and the Lusitania with 4. We didn't think you'd want your ships to have less.
So 1 funnel is an ornament?
Correct, sir.
Well, I think she's magnificent. How soon can you start?
We can commence work on ship 400 in a matter of months. 401 soon after.
Well then, I'd better sign the contract.
Of course.
Now, they'll need names. We can't keep calling them ships 400 and 401.
Surely, since 400 is the first in the class, we must call her Olympic.
Agreed. And 401?
She's your ship, Bruce.
William, you know your classics. Olympus was home to the Greek gods, that's true, but what of their great rivals, the Titans? Giants, every one of them. Olympic's partner should surely be Titanic.
Very good.
Titanic it is, then.
Was ever a ship more appropriately named?
Olympic and Titanic. In Perry's eyes, these giant liners would usher in an age of boundless prosperity. What could possibly go wrong?